Well, Lyft is aiming to improve the safety of its female passengers. It's time now for the other view. So the ride-sharing company announcing a new feature to its app called Women Plus Connect. Now it allows female and non-binary passengers to choose a driver of the same gender, although that gets confusing when you talk about non-binary. But we're going to talk about that with our panel, Project 21 volunteer Whitley Yates, and also independent content creator and author of Frontlines, Isabel Brown. Great to have you both with us here. All right, Isabel, many praising Lyft for making this move, citing a 2021 safety report from the company, which showed that from 2017 to 2019, there were a reported 10 deaths and more than 4,000 cases of sexual assault on Lyft alone. However, some say, hey, this is a slippery slope, saying what's next? Will Lyft passengers soon be able to choose a driver by race? Isabel, let's start with you.
It's an interesting proposition, and I'm glad you brought up that safety report, because when we look at the more detailed nuances there were almost 400 rapes that had occurred just in Lyft services between 2017 and 2019. If you ask any young woman in America today who's ever ridden in a Lyft or an Uber, there's bound to be at least one story where you felt a little uncomfortable or a little unsafe, which I think speaks more broadly to the culture that we have continued to allow to thrive in many of America's cities, where we are empowering crime and bad behavior instead of empowering safety. But I do think this is a very interesting slippery slope. At what point can riders on Lyft or Uber or any other competitive company start to choose drivers based on a similar racial characteristic, or based on religion, or even sexual preference or identity, maybe even political affiliation? We've created this everyone has to be exactly the same as me in order for me to feel safe culture in America going into the 2020s. And I'm fascinated to see where it goes from here.
Yeah, Whitley, it's interesting because it seems that more and more the cry for diversity ends up being more about self-segregation. And then if outsiders, I'll call them, or people who don't share your beliefs or how you look or how you feel or how you identify, then somehow people don't accept other people. It seems like we are going backwards. But then on that, I do have to say, I kind of don't hate what Lyft is doing, just because sometimes I'd rather have a female driver for safety.
You know, I don't hate what Lyft is doing. However, can we talk about the real issue and the root? And the root is that if people are being raped with your rideshare service, then what you need to do is make sure that the riders are safe.
That's
so
a good
whether I
point.
have a man driving me, whether I have a woman driving me, or whatever it is that they identify as, I should be safe when using your services. So instead of looking at the root causes and really attacking that and making sure that the drivers themselves are not predators, instead what we'll do is we'll attempt to make this better by only giving you this option, or having this option for you to only have women. Newsflash here, women are also not the safest people either, because crime happens all the time. So what is Lyft or Uber or whoever going to do to make sure that riders are safe no matter the gender? That's the real question at hand.
Yeah, interesting point. I mean, who is to say that you're stating or assuming that women are less violent? I don't know. I mean, that, again, slippery slope indeed. I want to get to this quickly. Not a lot of time left. In St. Louis, the social bar and grill, it's 40 years old, is now facing backlash rules for posting a brand new list of some rules that some deem them either racist or anti-LGBT rules. There's a list of them. For clothing include no masks, hoodies, saggy pants, or sleeveless tank tops. The dining rules include if you order it, you touch it, you pay for it. And when paying for a credit card for a meal over $25, you must have a copy of a valid ID. You know, Whitley, I don't know. There were so many people saying, well, these are racist rules, or these are anti-LGBTQ rules. To me, this just sounds like a business who's trying to make some money.
Listen, if you walk into Ruth's Chris, there's a jacket policy. Restaurants are allowed to create the dining culture in which they want. So if they don't want your sagging pants and your white beaters, then don't wear that at their restaurant, or eat somewhere else. I think that the social bar is allowed to create the culture in which they want at their restaurant. And if you don't like it, don't eat there.
Yeah, and Isabel, you know, interestingly, we want to be honest here. I mean, previously this restaurant had women, waitresses, who only wore body paint. They also had servers who were, I'll say, scantily clad, kind of picture something like Hooters. I'm sure you've heard of it. But once again, I'm going to say to Whitley's point, hey, if you're changing your brand, if you're changing your look, that's your business. And again, diners can go somewhere else if they want to. Final thoughts, Isabel?
It absolutely is. And the same would be true for the flip side of the coin. If you're uncomfortable eating at a restaurant or an establishment where waitresses are scantily clad or wearing no clothing at all, but just body paint, you can choose to eat somewhere else. I suppose it's a good thing that the United States Senate is relaxing their dress code, though, as to avoid being called racist or anti-LGBTQ. It's a crazy reality that we are living through right now when we have to argue over whether a hoodie is considered a racial statement. But I guess that's just 2023.
And also a hoodie and shorts and sneakers being completely acceptable for a senator on the Senate floor. Of course, the John Fetterman rule, we'll unofficially call it. All right, Whitley Yates, Isabel Brown, thanks for joining me on The Other View.